Tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words, what they mean, what they say, mother.
It's a beautiful day here in Santa Monica, California, and it's even better day to talk about Turtle Rock's new upcoming action game, Evolve. By now we have pretty much seen the premise of the main idea of the game. It's 4 hunters against one scary monster. At this event we have seen 4 new hunters. How do those new characters change the dynamic of the game?
Well, I mean, the 4 new hunters, I mean, obviously they are still part of, the class system, but they do their thing a little bit differently than the original 4 that we introduced a few months ago. I can go through each one if you like. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Hyde is our new assault character. He is a bit different than Markov in that he's much more aggressive. He has the most powerful weapon in the game, which is his flamethrower. Does a massive amount of damage, but it's very short range, right? So he has to get up close and personal and get in the brawl, so to speak. The other thing that difference from about him, is that where Markov can set up sort of traps in the form of his mines, his arc mines. Hyde is much more proactive in that if a monster is in an area, right, and sort of hiding, so to speak, Hyde can throw a toxic grenade into the area and sort of flush the monster out. So he's just overall a much more aggressive character. He swears a lot. He's got a lot of attitude, and he's just generally badass. Another one I can talk about, and this is probably the most distinct difference, is with Lazarus, our new medic character. Whereas Val was sort of very straightforward, you point the med gun, you heal the person you're pointing at. Lazarus can't do that, right? He has the class ability, the burst heal, just like everyone, right? But that's not the most effective way to heal a character. But what he does have is the ability to bring people back from the dead. He has a gauntlet on his fist we call the Lazarus device. And so, I mean, that couldn't be any more different from Val. The interesting thing about Lazarus is that he needs to hang back and stay out of the fight and wait for characters to go down, at which point he can put on his cloak. He has like sort of an invisibility thing, and sneak in and bring that character back to life. So essentially what he does from the monster's point of view is he turns hunters into cockroaches. You keep killing them and they keep coming back. You keep killing them and you keep coming back. And then our trapper class, our new trapper is Maggie. She's her biggest thing is she's got a pet Trapjaw, right? And Trapjaws are sort of these indigenous hyena-like creatures on the planet Sheer, which is where the game takes place. She's got a pet one, and the thing that its name is Daisy, and the thing that it does is it basically acts sort of like a hound dog. Whereas most of the time the hunters have to follow footprints, Daisy actually uses her sniffer, and is able to find sort of a more direct route to the monster without having to sort of follow the trail, like most of the hunters do. Where as Griffin, he finds the monster by sound, and if the monster is being stealthy, Griffin can't necessarily locate him, right? Because stealth doesn't make noise. Whereas Daisy can still track the monster through scent, even when he's going stealthy. She does it a little more slowly because she's sniffing the ground and moving along. And then last is our support characters. Hank, which was our first one, he's much more he's a lot like Val in that he has his shield gun, right? And it's a very straightforward thing. You shield that guy that you're pointing at. Whereas Bucket, he's our new support character, he helps his team in a much more aggressive way in that, he puts down sentry guns. And he basically can create a very dangerous fire zone for the monster to come into, and it's not really a great thing for the monster to come into the area where Bucket's laid his drones, fight four hunters plus 5 gun drones shooting at him all at once. The other thing that Bucket can do that's really cool is he can pull off his head, pop it off, and fly it around as a UAV, right? So essentially, he is actually able to sort of help the trapper, kind of perform limited tracking duties by flying around and trying to locate the monster and give his team sort of a little more knowledge as to where the monster's hiding.
Right. There are these 4 set classes that every game has those 4 classes. Is there any way to can players upgrade those classes or customize them in some way?
Yeah. So we have a perk system. So basically, as you play as a specific character and become more experienced and and fulfill sort of a set of requirements, you will unlock that character's perk. And every character has a different perk, and the nice thing is that those perks are usable by the entire team. So if I'm playing, Maggie, and I unlock her perk, I can not only use it on her, but I can use it on any of the other hunters that I've unlocked. That's the main, way to sort of customize your hunters, is by choosing perks.
And so far we have seen 8 hunters. Can you give us a hint? How many are we gonna see in total?
More. No, I can't confirm the numbers yet, but we do have more to come.
What about the monster side? We're still stuck with Goliath.
Yep, and we're super excited to show the next monster, and he is coming in the coming months. You will get to meet the next monster.
Right. The game is heavily focused on this like almost set piece kind of boss fight stuff. How are you planning to bring story into the game?
Well, the main thing. One of the things that we're doing is that as you play, your characters will just talk. And there's times when there's like a lull. You know what I mean? When you're just sort of tracking and nothing's happening. And those are perfect times for us to have the characters talk to each other and converse. There is also, there's a nice little chunk of time when you're on the drop ship, coming in. We've got some good stuff, planned for, the characters to talk about in those times. And the other thing is, we've got something planned that I can't go into a lot of detail about, but that basically allows players to really sort of get in and get to know the characters better and learn about their history and stuff like that.
So is there a dedicated single player mode also in common?
Well, yeah. You can play the game really, honestly, any way that you want. If you are the kind of person that just is not comfortable with online, you can set it up where you can play against any number of bots. Against any number of AIs. If the 4 of us wanted to play, on the same team, but we don't have a monster, well, the 4 of us can go up against, an AI monster. The nice thing about that, we really want to make sure. I mean, ultimately, the game is a multiplayer experience at its heart, but we want to make sure that people who, either for whatever reason aren't comfortable with, just jumping online and playing with strangers or whatever, can sort of customize this experience to sort of fit their tastes.
So it's possible to make your own game modes and customize the monsters or the.
Well, we do have some options that will be available that will allow you to sort of tweak the conditions of your game. But yeah, ultimately, it will be a sort of a very flexible experience that you can, sort of. It's not so much you're making your own game modes as it is you're setting up your experience to, for your own tastes and making sure that, you have fun, no matter what.
One of the what I think the biggest like concerns or worries is it's just the replayability, because it is so heavily focused on this great fight with the monster, and so how are you ensuring that like people come back to the game like after they have seen all the monsters and like that?
So the first thing is that we've got a lot of variables, right? I mean, we've shown eight different hunters, right, which are all interchangeable, right? I mean, you can play in any sort of combination of those. So right there, that gives you sort of a lot of things to try, and experiment with. We've got multiple monsters, which, when you couple that with all the different sort of choices in hunters, means that you got a different experience there. We've got over a dozen maps planned. Each one that'll play a little bit different and offer sort of new experiences and things like that. And we've got multiple game modes, which, although the game modes always sort of do focus on the man versus monster conflict, they do play out in very different ways, which, I mean, I don't mean to be a tease, but, we'll be, showing more about that stuff coming. So when you take, sort of all these different factors and sort of multiply them together, what you get is this, experience that, you just throw one random thing in and could really sort of make a big difference in how the game plays out. And the nice thing is, each of the matches come in, tend to, they average around like 12 to 15 minutes. And so, you can try again and you can try something different. And, you're not sort of locked into this hour-long experience where if things go wrong in the first 5 minutes, you're not just stuck. You can play it out, and it might last 10 minutes, and you can try something different.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest questions that everybody have had is the balance, and how's the balance going to be when when you have so many variables. And you have already said that you have been playtesting it a lot. Yeah. Like I have seen. So what are the most important, like the key things you have learned with this long playtesting?
Well, I mean, the thing that you learn is that you don't ever get too attached to any one thing, right? I mean, there are a lot of things that, when you pitch a game or when you're working on a game that sound great on paper, that once you put it into effect actually kind of sucks, and you can't be afraid to throw that away and try something different. That's a lesson that we're always learning, and that we sort of really sort of keep close to our heart. You don't get too precious about anything. That's a really big one. I mean, the other thing is, just the whole idea of, we play test our games. We're not gonna, if we don't want to play our game, nobody else is going to want to play our game. So every night, when possible, we're having a play test, or every afternoon, depending on which day it is. And we get as many people in the studio as can, to play those things. And, we just play the crap out of it, you know what I mean? And ultimately, when you play a game long enough and you start to see, that will show you where the problems are, and that will show you, where things are out of balance, and you got to act on it, and that's one of the things we do during development, and that we will be doing post release. I mean, right now we've got this many people playing it, right? When we release, we're gonna have this many people playing it, and I guarantee there's going to be somebody out there that comes up with some shit that we never ever imagined, right? And that maybe it'll be cool, and we'll be able to, hey, that's cool, we'll do more of that, right? Or maybe it'll break the game, and we'll have to fix it. But
yeah, but it's going to be a long-running project that you're going to be sticking with the game a long time.
That's our plan. Yeah.
Well, we are looking forward to it. Thank you very much.